Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another Round the Ropes podcast. Guys, it's been 2 weeks, but we are back. Did you miss us? Or did you miss me? Let me put it that way. Guys, as you guys know, you guys can find us. We're on all social media accounts. Go check us out. If you have not done so yet, please hit the subscribe on our YouTube page. It costs you nothing and does wonders for us. It's also free $99, so who would like free? Just bear with me one moment here. I do want to share the show out so people can watch us and we can get some sort of interaction going here. So, yeah. Oh, hold on. I forgot. Hold on. But, guys, hopefully everybody's been doing good. Like I said, I know it's been some time since we have been on. And I think it's safe to say that there's a lot that's been going on in the world of pro wrestling, to say the least. And there's a lot that's been going on since we have last been on with you guys. And yeah, we're going to get to as much as we can. Again, guys, just bear with me 2 seconds here. I am just sharing the show out so that people can watch the show because, you know, it's really bad doing a show by yourself when, you know, nobody interacts. I kid. But, guys, like I said, we got a lot coming up for you guys, including fallout from the 2 BCW shows. We'll look ahead as we are only 8 weekends away from the end of 2024, and this wrestling scene is still picking up like incredible. We have so much stuff to get into, and we're gonna get all into it right now. First, I want to just dive into what happened. Let's start off with Battleground. I want to start off there because a couple weeks ago, Battleground had their latest show, The Nightmare on South Swanson Street. Why do I keep calling it Spooner? South Swanson Street. And top to bottom was a great card. I do want to give a shout out to Kevin Gill, who was my broadcast partner for the night. I thought we did a really good job, told a great story. But we also had fun, and that's all that matters, really, with it. Is you got to have some fun. Because if you're not having fun, then why the hell are you doing this? I'll be honest. Favorite match of the night. And there was a lot of changes that we saw on this card, obviously, because as we know, cards subject to change. We know that that's all pro wrestling. But there was a lot of, I guess you could say, a lot of I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this. A lot of things that happened. And I want to start off with open up the show. We had a 6-person tag match, which featured Blackout versus the team of Crowbar, Facade. Now, originally, it was supposed to be Kincaid. That was who originally was supposed to be involved in the 6-man. He unfortunately could not make it. I don't remember what the reason was why he couldn't make it, but he was unable to attend the show. So instead, from Pro Wrestling Magic, making his debut, Mr. Big Dick Energy himself, Isaiah Wolf. And no, I wasn't poo-pooing that. That's his legit intro. By the way, anybody who's watching, Francis, I know there's probably a few other people watching. How do I sound okay? Let me know in the comment section below how I sound, because, like I said, I haven't done this in 2 weeks. And I don't know how everything's going to sound coming together. So just let me know in the comment section how I sound. But we had, like I said, we had 6-person tag match. It was a good match. Obviously, as we saw at the end, Crowbar and Facade kind of walked away from. Thank you, Shamika. walked away from the match, kind of leaving Isaiah Wolf there. Now, as far as where does this go, I have no idea. But I can announce Crowbar's next match for December 14th, because that did become official Monday night. And guys, Crowbar will not be in tag team action on the show on December 14th. Instead, he's taking on somebody who he's been in the ring with quite often. And wrestling fans would, I think, know this guy and probably remember this rivalry. But he takes on the returning and debuting Vampiro. Yes, guys. One of the biggest rivalries that we saw in WCW is happening with Vampiro taking on Crowbar. And I can't believe in 2024 I get to be on call for that match. It's insane. But then, and I want to get to, and Francis, I saw your comment here. Yes, Francis, I agree with you on that, but I'll get to that one in a second. Then we had the Wildfire Tommy Rich with Michael Myers taking on Evil Nate with Jason Voorhees or some combination of that. It was okay. It was a hokey match. Let's just call it what it is. Then we had, coming out of that match, I'm trying to remember here. I don't remember if we went. No, I think we went right for the Street Fight match. And guys, I said this during my Facebook Live, and I'll say this again. Battleground is currently using the streaming services of Patreon. It costs $5.99. That's it. And you get to watch the entire show in its entirety. Now, I'm not sure if I think you have to wait like a day or so before you can view it, but I think for the most part, I think within a couple of days you can view it. Guys, if you have not done so yet, and I don't know what you're waiting for, go spend the $5.99, go find Battleground, and go watch Shellac and freaking Drake Younger, who I've said this to both of them after the show, and I'll say this again, one of my favorite matches to have called in 2024. And yes, before everybody starts sitting there saying, oh, they were too violent. Yeah, they may have been violent, but the story those guys told was incredible. The story. You had two guys, and I said this on commentary on the show. You basically had one half of the Mount Rushmore of deathmatch wrestling in that match with Shellac and Drake Younger. Obviously, later on, we would see the other two guys who I feel should be on that Mount Rushmore. Well, I think you would definitely put the other two guys on there without hesitation. After the match, and now, like I said, these guys killed each other. Like, I think they're still scraping off body parts of Drake Younger from the 2300 arena, but they better do it quick because I know NXT will be there this time tomorrow night. So, but those guys, I mean, you can't say anything bad about that match. It had everything. It had the storytelling. You had two guys who, and I said this when the match got announced. I think I said this on here. I said this to somebody. I said you had Rock and Hogan. You had Hulk and Andre. You have Shellac and Drake Younger. You have these two guys who, when you think of deathmatch wrestling, these are the two names you think of right away. Shellac and Drake Younger. And the fact that Timothy Ambler, who I have to give him a shout out for being one of the best goddamn bosses out there, for giving me an opportunity to do commentary, put this match together. But it wasn't even that. It was what happened after. When all of a sudden the lights go out, me and Kevin were on commentary, all of a sudden the lights go out and the music hits. And coming out to the ring to lay out the challenge, and then we would find out later on would become official. And that was Drake. That was some guy who apparently I heard over the weekend is actually done with GCW. And that's Nick fucking Gage. And guys, happened in December 14th, live from the 2300 arena, we get Nick Gage versus Drake Younger for the Street Fight Championship. Holy crap. Then the second half of the show, we saw Shelton Benjamin take on Rich Swann. It was a good match. I'm not going to take anything away from it. It was definitely a dream match, to say the least. Did it hold up to what I thought it would? Not necessarily. I thought they could have done a little bit more, but I think because of time constraints, they couldn't. Then you had the women's match, which originally was supposed to be a triple threat match between Gabby Ortiz, Vicious Vicky, and Danny Moe for Danny Moe's BCW women's title. Unfortunately, Vicky could not make the show, so instead we got Gabby versus Danny Moe. I'm going to say this much, okay? I don't know if it was because of the sudden change from the triple threat to a singles. I don't know what it was, but I feel like these two did not have chemistry. It seemed very, and yes, granted, you're coming off of the match we saw to close out the first half with Merc, from what I heard, supposedly he is done. I could be wrong on that. If I'm wrong, I apologize. But that's from what I heard through the grapevines. I don't know if he's done, but I know he's not working with GCW right now. But no, I feel like Danny Moe and Gabby, and I say this every time when it comes to women's wrestling. A lot of times I feel like the matches for the women become weak, not because of who's in the ring, but because of where they're placed. And I say that for this reason, okay? You had the women follow Shelton Benjamin and Rich Swann, who had to follow Shellac and Drake Younger. And how the hell, if anybody who saw or was there live knows what I'm talking about here, how could anybody have followed that? I mean, you could have easily, if you wanted to, had Shellac and Drake Younger be the main event. And I don't think anybody would have batted an eyelash on it. I think what made that second half of that Battleground show difficult, to say the least, is the fact that you were following Shellac and Drake Younger. Masada took on Christian Ross. I thought that match was good. I mean, I'll be honest. I said this on commentary, and I agree, and I'll stick to it. I think Christian Ross, to me, basically marked his claim to going after the Street Fight Championship. I really think. I mean, he didn't beat Masada, but he definitely got over with probably another guy who's on that Mount Rushmore. Because when you talk about the Mount Rushmore of deathmatch wrestling, I feel like it comes down to Nick Gage, Drake Younger, Nick Gage, Drake Younger, Shellac, and Masada. Those to me are the top four. I think Tremont is fifth on that list. And I know Tremont will be there December 14th, but that's just the way I look at it. To me, I think the big four when it comes to deathmatch wrestling are the four guys I just mentioned. Drake Younger, Shellac, Nick Gage, and Masada. I don't think you can put anybody else in there. And yes, I mean, you probably could put guys in there from the past, but I think right now with who we are seeing, I think those are the top four guys to me. Like I said, as far as that match, Christian Ross to me became a star. Christian Ross became a goddamn star that night. And he is somebody who, I'm not saying right away with going into 2020, but I think at some point in 2025, if we see a match graphic coming out that says Christian Ross challenging Drake Younger or Nick Gage or whoever for that title, it wouldn't shock me at all. And that's solely because of the fact that Christian Ross basically got himself over. And to get yourself over in that building, and I know we've talked about this in the past, and this has been talked about to death, I feel like, a lot of wrestling shows. But when you talk about that building and the history with that building, and the argument, this discussion always comes out, well, what are the most historical buildings that are still around? Right now, I think it's safe to say the most historical buildings that still have professional wrestling in them. I'm not talking about the VFW halls or anything like that. But I think realistically, I think you got the 2300 Arena, you got Madison Square Garden, you got the Rosemont Arena in Chicago. Those are the three that I can think of in the U.S. And I think the fourth one has to be Korakuen Hall in Tokyo. I can't think of any other building right now that would happen. I can't think of any other building right now that has as much history of pro wrestling in it and is still working today as a wrestling place. And I'm not talking about, like I said, I'm not talking about your VFW halls. No. To me, I'm talking about the buildings that have the history. You look at the Rosemont with all those years of WWE. You look at 2300 Arena with the ECW stuff, and now what we're seeing with Battleground over the last number of years. Obviously, we all know about Madison Square Garden. We all know about Korakuen Hall. I mean, you could make the argument the Tokyo Dome, but that's more for like New Japan. But I think, like I said, if you look at it that way, I think it's a 2300 Arena, the Rosemont building in Chicago, the MSG and Korakuen Hall, I think, are the four big ones that come to mind. Let me go through some of these comments here. Guys, definitely leave your comments below. We'll definitely read them throughout the entire show tonight. Merck says, talking about Christian Ross, what about him, Merck? To me, the kid is very talented. I will say that much. And I think he is somebody who, if pushed right, if he gets a hold of that Street Fighting Championship, it's going to be tough to get it off of him. I think you can build a star just off of his match with Masato alone. Francis Tribes in here goes, I think it would be a match for the ages. Francis, what match are you talking about on that one? Let me know. And there we go. Merck says he's always been in deathmatch wrestling, though. Yeah, no, I agree. I agree on that. I just think, to me, now I'll be honest. I was never a big deathmatch wrestling fan. When I first got back into wrestling, about 10 years ago. But I've seen a few matches, and I give them a lot of respect. And after seeing that, after what we saw with Shellac and Drake Younger, what we saw in that tournament at the show in July, you got to give these guys the benefit of the doubt. All right, Francis, which match was that? Because I've been talking like a madman for the last 18 minutes. You got to refresh my memory here. Which match are you talking about? But that's the thing though. When you look at, with these deathmatch guys, and yeah, like I said, it's not for everybody's cup of tea. I'm not gonna say that. I'm not saying, oh, you're a wrestling fan, you must watch you must watch the deathmatch stuff. No, because it's not for everybody. But when you see these guys ripping skin off and you're seeing blood spewing out, that they're turning crimson red or they're busted open, you can't sit there and not give them a little bit of credit. Merck says, yes, it takes a lot for deathmatch wrestler to wrestle you. Yeah, no, you do. You definitely do. Oh, okay. Yeah, the street champ. Yeah. Okay. Now I get what you're saying, Francis. But that's my thing, though. Is you look at deathmatch wrestling, and it's not for everybody. I'll be the first one to admit it. But when you see those guys, when you're seeing these guys walk to the back, and they're having blood spewing out of their body like they're a fountain, you can't have nothing but respect for them. They're doing, you turn around and I'll put it this way, you turn around to me or whoever, a regular average Joe, spent no time in the ring at all, and tell me, okay, I'm gonna have a grown ass man running after me with a light tube, and he's gonna hit me over the back of the head with it, and shards of glass are gonna trickle in. I'll be honest, I'm gonna cry like a bitch. Let's just call it what it is. I'm gonna cry like a bitch. But you look at, and that's why back in the day, like when ECW was doing it, and you were seeing these guys literally use barbed wire. I have a freak attack when I see a little bit of blood. How do you think I'm going to react if all of a sudden my entire head is cut up because it's fountain season? But no, it's definitely interesting. And like I said, we did see now originally. I just want to pull back the curtain here for a second. Originally, the plan was not supposed to be for Shelton Benjamin to close out. Was not for Shelton and Rich to close out the show. It ended up not. For whatever reason, they ended up calling an audible, and we ended up getting B-Boy versus VSK, where the winner will become the new BCW heavyweight champion. Obviously, we know that BCW has had a few people hold that title since July. Obviously, we saw Lance Anoa'i beat Brian Kendrick at the July show to become the champion. Then a few days later, he had to relinquish it. Very out of the blue relinquish it. Like nobody knew where it was going with it. And we still don't know. We still don't know why he relinquished it. But he good point here. Let me go to here first. Mark says, yeah, that shit is painful. Francis says here, he goes, just like Taz and Sabu going at it anytime they were, yeah. And at some point, we'll do a, biggest rivalry thing, but I mean, Taz and Sabu have to be up there. So we end up getting our new BCW heavyweight champion is the one and only B-Boy. Now, I can announce some of the matches right now. Yeah, all three. I thought there was more graphics. But guys, like I said, announced so far, we're getting Nick Gage versus Drake Younger for the Battleground Championship Wrestling Street Fighter Championship. As we mentioned before, Crowbar takes on Vampiro, but that's not all. Oh, wait, nope, that's not it. There we go. Because making his return to Battleground, Wrecking Ball Legursky takes on 1/3 of the Hurt Syndicate. Now, obviously, we saw the other third at the last show. So the fact that we're getting another one now, would we see the possibility come 2025 of all three members of the Hurt Syndicate walking through the doors of the 2300 Arena? Only time will tell. And we also don't even know the rest of the matches for the show on December 14th. Tim could pull a miracle, a freaking miracle out of his you-know-what. But I can also announce, for the heavyweight title, B-Boy defends the title against the one and only Matt Tremont. It is going, like I said, it's going to be a lot of fun. Oh, wait, hold on, what the frick? Okay, there we go. Fan of the show, obviously, we're all fans of the show, but OG fan of the show, David goes, MVP is going to get, he's going to get destroyed. That's a nice way to put it. That hopefully the cane works for him because, he might need it after he goes through Wrecking Ball Legursky at the show. But like I said, guys, overall, it was an awesome time. I can't wait to be back down there. And only a couple weeks, guys. We only got a couple weeks till the next show, which happens to be called, if I can pull up the graphic, that would be even better. There we go. BCW presents, and to all a good night. Happening Saturday, December 14th, live from the 2300 Arena. Now, I'm not sure, they probably posted this already, as far as how the setup is, but I think they're doing the same type of setup like they did at this show, where you're going to have the meet and greet first, then you're going to have the Christmas party, and then it's the actual show. I could be wrong on it. I have a feeling Tim will post something about it in the weeks to come. Quickly want to shift gears now over to Brii Combination, who also had one hell of a show since the last time we have been on with you guys. And this one caused a very interesting thing, to say the least, because Anthony Cole was not there. Now, we don't know as of now, as of 8:09 on a Tuesday night, Election Day 2024, we don't know exactly why Anthony Cole had to leave. There was some speculation that he got sick. There was some speculation that Anthony Gangone might have attacked him prior to the show. We don't know as of now why Mr. Cole had to leave. So taking the place and sort of being the security guard for BCW and kind of making sure things run smoothly is the Juggernaut King himself, Vince Steele. And he made his presence known in that main event. And as far as where do they go from here, I don't know. I seriously don't know. I have my theory as far as what I hope they do. And I hope they try to let Gangone go as dark as he possibly can. I know him and I have our issues with each other because of some questions I might have asked him. But he definitely is somebody who, the darker you let him go, the more layers you can add to the story. And the one thing, and I give Anthony Cole a lot of credit for this, the one thing we don't see a lot in indie wrestling is storylines. Because the fact that you don't get guys that come in month to month because scheduling issues or, they have other plans. So it's good. Like I said, for that one, I hope Cole, AJ Pan, and the entire BCW crew, Brii Combination crew, let me put it that way, will end up. Oh, I'm trying to. Oh, okay. Will end up trying to do it that way. That's, like I said, that's the only thing I'm hoping for. Is you let him go as dark as you can. You let him go as freaking dark as you can, because the darker you let him go, like I said, the more of a possibility you can have with him. The more you can do with him. I just want to see something here. Give me a second. Just give me a second here. Guys, like I said before, I will be giving you guys updates on the election results. Obviously, that's the big thing tonight, is the 2024 presidential election. As of now, it looks like we're still about 18 minutes away from the next set of polls closing. And as of now, it looks like Trump took Oklahoma 72.6 to 26.3. Ohio is still pretty close. Right now, Trump is ahead 90 to 27. So that's where we stand as of a little bit after 8 o'clock on this Tuesday night. Trump is at 90 votes. Kamala Harris is at 23. And obviously, as many of you know, in order to get the nominee and become the next president, you have to get 270. And guys, it's gonna be a long night. So I just want to keep everybody in the loop of what's going on. We'll get back to the pro wrestling talk right now. Merck says, did Vinny help Carter? Yes, he sort of. I don't know. I don't know how you want to look at it. Because in one aspect, it kind of looked like he was helping Carter. But then in the other aspect, you can make the argument that he was just making sure that stuff got done the right way. Because how many times have we seen in indie wrestling where all of a sudden somebody like, and especially somebody like Carter, who, let's call a spade on this one for a second. Carter, who's one of the most evil syndicated people out there when it comes to wrestling. The guy's, I've said this before, to me, he's on the Mount Rushmore of New Jersey independent wrestling. And he's definitely somebody who, he doesn't need help. Let me put it that way. He doesn't need help at all. But did he help him? It depends on how you interpret it. It depends on how you interpret it. The next show coming up for Brii Combination is on December 15th. Christmas with a Vengeance. I'm not sure yet no matches have been announced yet. Nothing has been told to me, so I don't know what the plan is. The only other thing I will mention, though, is in the match, is the women's match at the Halloween show, which saw Vicious Vicky take on Riley Crow. And I don't know what happened, because there's two matches I want to talk about briefly. I don't know what happened. It seemed like Riley and Vicky, I don't know if they just didn't click or what it was, but it seemed like a lot of those moments in that match were rather stiff, to say the least. And that's probably the nicest way I can put it. That's probably the nicest way I can put it. But it definitely seemed like there was a few stiff shots in there, to say the least. And then the other match I kind of want to talk about, and this one was kind of weird to me. And it was what was supposed to be the tag team match to turn into a triple threat match that somehow turned into a singles match. Because originally the match was supposed to be Faye Jackson and Christina Marie taking on Emily J and Notorious Mimi. Obviously setting up for the inevitable down the road, and this isn't me spoiling anything. Everybody who's been to a Brii show can kind of figure this is sort of the plan. The eventual fatal four-way match with Vicky, Faye Jackson, Christina Marie, and Notorious Mimi. And I really think we're getting that at some point. If we get that at the Christmas show, I would be shocked. I think if I'm Anthony, I hold off till one of your bigger shows come 2025. I really think that's the only way you can do it. But so we end up getting a triple threat match between Clara Carreras, Christina Marie, and Notorious Mimi. Also, the third of the way through the match, and Mimi walks away. And what I don't understand is the ref didn't count her out. The ref didn't do anything. Francis, that you actually have a point there. He goes, Timothy Ambler should open up with the show with the women's matches and then build it up around that. I agree with you. The only issue is this, though. And I'm not saying this that I'm trying to disagree with you. We saw that at the women. Well, you can't really say that we saw at the women's show because that entire show was women. But I think the problem is, and I don't think it's the women who are on the card, because I think the women on the card are great with Vicious Vicky, Danny Moe, Gabby Ortiz, go down the list. But when you got a card that's loaded with matchups like MVP and Wrecking Ball, and you got Vampiro and Crowbar, you got B-Boy and Tremont, I kind of feel sorry for the women in this situation, if I'm going to be honest. Because to me, if I'm the women, no matter where you get put in the card, you're going to get looked at poorly. So we'll see what happens with that. But, guys, we're actually going to take a quick commercial break right now so I can go get something to drink because I can feel my throat already starting to get sore. And, guys, when we come back, we got a lot more to get to, including a pre-show match announced for Full Gear that has pissed me off. What is that match? You'll find out in a few minutes. Guys, you're watching the On the Ropes podcast right here on the Around the Ropes YouTube and Facebook page. We'll be right back right after this.
First, let me introduce to you the team of Aaron Roxas and Anthony Gangone, Dr. Sleep, and Amity Devil.
Oh, crap. Sorry, guys. I am back. I forgot how short those videos were. Just bear with me 1 second. I kind of ran down the stairs and almost tripped. Sorry about that, guys. But, guys, like I said, if you see the ticker on the bottom, go to Around the Ropes. Go to progressinteesstore.com/Around the Ropes podcast, where you can get all your official merch. Definitely helps support the podcast a lot. Some other indie news to get to before we head over to what's going on. We talked about BCW coming up for Titan next week. They present Mount Olympus, where I know for a fact one of the matches that I'm looking forward to the most is PJ Savage taking on Mike Mundo, good friend of the show. Coming up on December 7th, Titan Championship Wrestling presents The Aftermath Revenge. And you're going to want to stay tuned for that, because there might be a big announcement coming from that pretty damn soon. And then, guys, also coming up on November 23rd, Immortal Championship Wrestling returns to Rome, New York for Redemption. As you see on the card, Mike Skyros is the new ICW champion. Garrett Holiday's there. Bill Collier's there. Delmy XO, who is your new ICW Women's Champion. Madman Fulton, who's going to be there. And the matchup, I think fans, if you're an ICW fan, you should be looking forward to the most, is Madman Fulton versus Big Time Bill Collier in a 3 Stages of Hell match. But guys, coming up December 14th, the same day as Battleground, The Dynasty presents Big Trouble in Little Cairo 2. No matches are announced yet. Obviously, with Chris Envy, he does not announce a lot of matches beforehand. So you're not going to want to miss it. I think tickets are available. Go to purplepass.com /Big Trouble 2, I think. Or if you look on the poster, it should be on there. Guys, definitely, I know I haven't really talked a lot about Dynasty a lot because I was not at the last show, and unfortunately I will not be at the show in December. But guys, definitely go check out Dynasty. They are a company that I hold very near and dear to me because of the fact that of the opportunities that I've gotten. And like I said, we'll hopefully have on a lot more Dynasty people in the weeks to come, head into the show in December, and then head into the show that they have coming up in February, which is going to be their return to Empire Live for the first time in 2025. And you know damn well, when they go to Empire Live, you know damn well shit's going to hit the fan. You know damn well shit's going to hit the fan in a good way. But I want to swing things now over to AEW for a second, because there's been one thing that really has been pissing me off lately. And it's what's going on the pre-show, 0 Hour for Full Gear. And I meant to talk about this last week. Obviously, we weren't on last week, so I didn't get a chance. So I'm going to talk about it now. Because coming up on the pre-show, we're going to see QT Marshall taking on. I want to get his exact name correctly, because this seriously has to be one of the stupidest things I've ever heard. You have a roster on an AEW that's loaded. You have a roster that's loaded with guys like Powerhouse Hobbs, the Lucha Brothers, Ricky Starks, who can't get on a freaking show, but yet somehow, some freaking way, we're getting Big Boom AJ with Big Justice taking on QT Marshall. Why? I seriously want to know why. That has to be beyond idiotic. From a business perspective, I totally get why. From a business perspective, it makes total sense. But from a wrestling perspective, you have guys on this roster like a Ricky Starks, the Lucha Brothers, Will Hobbs, we haven't seen on TV in months. But you're giving a guy who wrestled on the Indies like 30 years ago an opportunity. And I know it's only a one-day contract. I get it. But why? Like I said, I'm not hating on it from a business point of view, because a business point of view, and actually Tony Khan does actually have a point here. But from a wrestling point of view, why? This is why nobody, and I've said this before, this is why nobody freaking, not that they have respect, but this is why a lot of times, the respect isn't there for AEW. It's because they pull off shit like this. And I personally think that when it comes to the whole Bobby Lashley debut, they rushed it way too quick. And I don't understand for the life of me. I will have somebody in the comment section to explain this to me. Why AEW has to hot shoot everything. What you could have let that build up. You could have let that build up and had Bobby debut at Full Gear. Full Gear is only 2 weeks away? And you let him debut on an episode of Dynamite? Why? You could have built the story, because they were talking about on Busted Open, and I agree with Dave, and I think it was Bully who said this. You look at what they're doing right now with Shelton Benjamin. They're doing the same thing with him in AEW that did with him in WWE. You could have. What I don't understand, and it's one thing I like with what WWE is doing right now, they're letting stuff build. They're letting stuff marinate. Great example. Look what they're doing with the New Day. They've been teasing Xavier Woods turning heel on Kofi for the last 3 months? And they haven't pulled the trigger yet, but you're still intrigued to see when that happens. AEW, on the other hand, it's well, we have to go 8,000 miles an hour, and I know it's Tony Khan being Tony Khan. I get it, but why can't you let things marinate? I mean, I may shit on AEW week in and week out on the show, but the one thing I'll give them credit for is where it's due. And I give them credit for what they're doing right now with Moxley and this new faction with him, Wheeler Yuta, Claudio Castagnoli, Pac, and Marina Shafir. I love it. It's intriguing. It's giving guys like Orange Cassidy more of a character. They're basically doing character development in a weird, twisted kind of way. But then on the flip side, they're doing this shit. And I hope they don't rush Bobby I hope they push Bobby to the point where if he were to go after the title. Yeah, David, I agree with you on that one. I hate to say it, but you're right. David chimed in here and goes, I've said this many times, AEW lacks decent writers. And yeah. I mean, I'll say this much. Is all of AEW creative been bad? No, there's been some good. Like I said, case in point, the whole thing with Moxley right now. I'm loving every minute of it. You look at, you look at another great storyline they did. was the whole thing with Private Party, where you push them to the point where they basically say, okay, we're going to challenge you guys for the titles, to the Young Bucks, but if we lose, we're breaking up. And look at what we got. We got the big moment. And now, from all accounts, it seems like the Young Bucks are going away for a while, but when they do return, which will probably be closer to January, when they do the Wrestle Dynasty show in the Tokyo Dome, more than likely it's probably going to be face Young Bucks, and they'll probably be a part of the team that helps take down Moxley and his crew. And what's funny is, though, and Mark, I see what you said here, that the writers and the creative team are top notch. They are, but for a while they weren't, though. And let me rephrase that. For a while, yes, they've always been top notch. I mean, you're not WWE if you're not, you're not in WWE if you're, making mistakes, okay? But look at who was in control of WWE. Gomez. Vinnie Mac. Once Vince McMahon took himself out of power because of everything that happened, the product got a hell of a lot better. Guys are being used properly. Guys are being, and we'll get into Crown Jewel in a little bit here. You have a show like Crown Jewel, for example, that for years it always became it became just like a throwaway house show. Not anymore. Not anymore. Not anymore. It's not a throwaway house show. But we'll get into that in a little bit here. But you got some more comments coming here. Guys, definitely share the video. Let your friends, your family, or whoever else who likes pro wrestling, let them know about what we do here. And like I said, guys, if you have not done so yet, please hit the subscribe button. It costs you nothing. It does wonders for us. And also follow us on Facebook and Instagram and all of that fun stuff. And guys, like I said, let's keep things moving here because, guys, like I said, we got a lot to get to tonight. Just a quick update on the political side of things. According to CNN breaking news about 28 minutes ago, Donald Trump has won Florida as Kamala Harris has won Massachusetts. So just want to keep everybody up to date on that. Like I said, I know we don't mix politics with pro wrestling, but with everything going on tonight and how big tonight is, yes, I had to. But guys, we're going to take another short break. We're going to come back and get into some WWE talk before we wrap things up here. Guys, you're watching the On the Ropes podcast right here on your On the Ropes YouTube and Facebook channels. We'll be right back right after this. You are watching us. Just give me 1 second here. Yeah. Okay, we'll go to this one. Guys, we'll be right back right after this. You're watching the On the Ropes podcast. Mark, if you're watching, you're going to get a kick out of this video. And we are back live right here on the On the Ropes podcast. Yes, guys, that was the last. Actually, that was the first Ace show that came back after them being gone for a year. Guys, I always joke about Jersey wrestling, but the one thing I love is fucking Ace Pro Wrestling. Not because they have good matches, not because the ring announcer he's mid. I kid. No. The other thing I love about Ace is their freaking empanadas. What Mike Morgan does with those empanadas are amazing. Guys, if you have not done so yet, what are you waiting for? The next time Ace runs again, which I don't know when that's going to be, you definitely need to go check it out. You need to go try out yourself an empanada. And guys, it is, like I said, it's really freaking good. Before we went to commercial break, I said something about talking about WWE. I want to dive into, before we get into what we saw this past weekend at Crown Jewel, I want to dive into Montez Ford, who apparently decided to open his mouth. And, yeah, it seems like he's not too thrilled right now with the booking of the Street Profits. And supposedly, now again, I don't know how much truth there is, but actually, I'm not even going to talk about it because I feel like there's no actual proof of it. But yeah, he is frustrated. And the one thing I will never understand with pro wrestlers, and you can say it because this is how I am, but I'll never understand this from anybody in the pro wrestling world. I don't care if you're a promoter, if you are an in-ring person, if you're a ring announcer, whoever. You have an issue with somebody. You have an issue with how you're being booked. Why do you feel it's necessary to go to social media and blab about it? I'm being dead serious. Why? What happened to the days where if you had a problem with somebody, you handled it one-on-one, behind the scenes, and nobody knew about it? But now that I feel like that's all wrestling now. Because if you have a problem with somebody, instead of being a man and talking to that person or venting your frustrations, you decide to put it on social media. And I'll never understand this. The one thing I push for when it comes to being in this industry now, and I've been part of this industry now for 3 years as of November 21st, is if I have an issue with somebody, I don't go to Facebook. If I have an issue with somebody in the pro wrestling industry, and I tend not to that much because, I'm very likable, but if I do, I would never want to post my frustrations on Facebook, post a video on YouTube about it. I would go to the person and be like, hey, look, this is pissing me off. And talk about it like men behind the scenes. But then you got guys like Montez, and I get why he's saying that, okay? Because they came into NXT like one of the hottest acts, and now they're not being used. And I get it. Trust me, you're getting frustrated. But to turn around and vent your frustrations on social media, why? Why? Because all that's going to happen now, and I think the issue is, the issue is, I look at it this way. Mr. Connor's what's going on, Connor? And he goes, I think it's a mix of age and people wanting the attention. Yeah, Connor, that's the best way I can put it. I totally agree. And Shamika says, well, that is the problem with social media. Every area of social media is a dumping ground. Yeah. And I mean, here's the funny thing, okay? I used to do it myself. I used to go on Facebook. I mean, people who've been friends with me long enough remember the days when I used to vent my frustrations or sit there and say, oh, I'm so pissed off, this, that, another thing. And I realized after a while, it wasn't getting me anywhere. I realized after a while, it was stupid. And I stopped doing it. And now it's the best thing I've ever done. Now, if you see 90% of the crap I post on Facebook is either stupid memes or my once a week appreciation post from my girlfriend. So, yeah, there's that. But let's keep things moving here. David says, I can't even fucking read this right now. He goes, I feel like if certain wrestlers aren't happy with their booking, then they should take a minute to analyze their performance and ask themselves, am I really exactly? Because to me, here's the way I look at it. Okay, now I'm not a booker at all, but I've spoken to enough bookers already. I've spoken to enough promoters over the years. A promoter isn't going to try to be able to for this. I wish, one of the promoters who I'm friends with would be in the comment section right now to tell me if I'm wrong on this. But a promoter, I feel, isn't going to not book somebody other than their performance. Like, you're not going to see somebody. Prime example, okay? Prime example. Let's take Dynasty, for example. And this isn't me shooting at Dynasty, okay? If somebody wasn't performing at the level they should be at Dynasty, I think it's fair to say Chris probably would not book them for a future show. And that's the same thing with Mike King with Immortal. That's the same thing with Anthony Cole and Brii combination. That's the same thing with Cindy at OWR Outcast Wrestling Revolution. It's your performance. And don't get me wrong, I think the Street Profits should have been multiple-time tag team champions at this point. I agree with that 100%. But I also think what they probably should have done at this point, and I know why they didn't do it, because Angelo Dawkins probably would have been, lost in the shuffle, is they should have broken up the Street Profits at this point. Francis chimes in here and goes, I like the days if Vince had a problem with anyone he handled. Yeah, exactly. I still think what they should have done is we should have gotten at least some point where the Street Profits broke up. Because I think the problem is, you look at the Street Profits now. I mean, eventually all tag teams break up. Let's call it what it is. All tag teams are going to break up at some point. There's no tag teams that are going to stay together forever. Okay, yeah, I mean, granted, yeah, you got the Road Warriors back in the day who were better as a tag team than singles star. Okay, great. But you look at what they did, and I think there was opportunities there to split the Street Profits up, let Montez Ford go on a singles run, let Angelo Dawkins go on a singles run, and then maybe in a year or so, then you could have had them reunite. Case in point, look what we just saw with the Usos. The Usos were together, and the Usos split up, and look what happened. Usos split up, and now, now it's the old saying, the heart, absence makes the heart grow fonder. And when you have a tag team that breaks up, when they finally do, if they do reunite, it's going to make for a much bigger moment. But let's go to some of the comments here. Shamika says, but on the other hand, I do think there are some people that WWE doesn't know what to do with. An example are the three people. Yes, Shamika, thank you for bringing that up. I totally forgot about that because, we have 8,000 things to cover tonight. But yeah, what she's talking about, for people who don't know, Indy Hartwell, Baron Corbin, and Tegan Knox all got released, or basically told they weren't going to renew their contracts. The biggest thing I'm going to say about that is, yes, I think, okay, let's take Baron Corbin, for example. What would have been so wrong with him winning the title? Cashing in and winning the title? No. What would have been so wrong? Because at that point, this is another thing that pisses me off, okay? When the Undertaker streak was broken, okay, I get why Brock was the one to do it, because it brought Brock Lesnar to a whole nother level. But why couldn't you have somebody like a Baron Corbin break Undertaker's streak? Make a superstar. Put him on the fast track to a title. I think when he was doing the lone wolf gimmick, it was insane. He was one guy who you could have given him any gimmick, and he did phenomenal with it. Unfortunately, Tegan Nox, I think the issue with her was she became injury prone. So I don't think WWE knew what to do with her. Indy Hartwell, I'm kind of surprised with, because they've been using her a lot with Candice. And the thing that kind of bugs me with that is Indy found out about it through social media. And again, I go back to social media again. Social media, in some aspects, has its perks, but it also has its disadvantages. I think all three of them are going to get, going to do great. Do I think they're going to all end up in AEW? No, not necessarily. I think if any of them, I would love to see Corbin in TNA. I would love to see Baron Corbin in TNA. As far as Indy goes, I can see. I think she stays on the independent scene for a while. And then as far as Tegan, though, I think the problem with Tegan, she has to get healthy. Once she can get healthy, I think TNA. I'm tired of this concept that everybody has to run to AEW right away. No. But one other thing I want to get to, I know I was saying I want to talk about Crown Jewel. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to see Crown Jewel, so I won't be talking about Crown Jewel. Is I posted something about possibly seeing a heel Joe Hendry. And I kind of want to explain what I meant by that. I know Joe Hendry right now is one of the most over superstars in pro wrestling. And he's not somebody who got over in a 10-minute time span. He's been over for some time. And but you can see the frustration though. This is a guy who has gone for the NXT title once already. He's gone for the TNA title twice. And he's lost all 3 times. And we saw it at the backstage thing for Bound for Glory when after JBL clotheslined him and took out Ryan Nemeth and Nick Nemeth as well. You can see the frustration in his eyes. Now, if I'm TNA, do I pull the trigger and turn Joe Hendry heel? I don't know. But I think at some point you're going to have to. And I think the way you do it is by turning him heel. I think you basically play it off where he can turn around and go, oh, you guys always say you believe in me, but where were you guys believing in me when I had the biggest opportunities going after the titles? Play it off like every other heel does when he blames the fans. And I think the way I would have it come out is have him come out to the song, and then when he does the wave your hands up, he turn around and go, yeah, screw that. I'm not doing that anymore. Because realistically, yes, did it get him fame? Yes. But he could have had an opportunity to be a double champion. And at this point, did TNA drop the ball by not putting the title on him at Bound for Glory? Because that was his second opportunity for that title. Obviously, the first one was at Slammiversary in that 6-way scramble, in that 6-way match. But this is the second time in the calendar year that you got a shot at the title and you fell short. Nick Nemeth, to me, and I'm not saying this to be, because I'm trying to be a Nick Nemeth hater. I'm not. I think Nick Nemeth is incredible for what he does. But Nick Nemeth has been in this industry now for 20 years. A loss here wouldn't have hurt him at all. If he would have dropped the belt to Joe Hendry at Bound for Glory, it would have done nothing but help Joe Hendry. And I think would have finally cemented Joe Hendry of being a top-tier wrestler, especially in TNA. Where in TNA, you don't really see that a lot. Where, you have your certain guys who are at the top, but it seems like everybody can be at the top. And to me, if I'm Joe Hendry, I'd be getting a little pissed off at this point. I mean, let's be honest. We all know he's going to WWE once his contract's up. It's inevitable. But I'll be curious to see how it plays out. Quickly, my thoughts on Crown Jewel. From what I saw in the highlights, thought it was an okay event. Seemed very predictable. I'm just curious to see something here. Because we've all been talking about it now. You've heard it on all different podcasts. You heard it on here. You've heard it. Every wrestling fan is talking about it. Bloodline Civil War. Well, I hate to break the news to you guys, but we are only I think we're 2 weeks out. Yeah, I think we're about 2 weeks. Yeah, we're only 2 weeks out from Survivor Series. You only have 2 more Monday Night Raws and 3 more SmackDowns before we get to Survivor Series. Eventually, you're going to have to announce the War Games match. I mean, we all know what it's going to be, and it's going to be the OG Bloodline versus the new Bloodline. But are we getting a 4-on-4? We get a 5-on-5. If it's 5-on-5, who's that 5th person going to be? Are we going to see Zillafat 2? Is it going to be Nicoleo? I mean, who's it going to be? I still want to throw it out there that for me, I know Io Sky is now the number 1 contender for Liv Morgan's title. But I think for Nia Jax, I would love to see it be Chelsea Green. Give Chelsea a shot. Give her that moment that you should have given Selena Vega in Puerto Rico. Even if it's a setup where you get Chelsea Green, Nia Jax for the title in British Columbia, which is Chelsea Green's hometown, so you know she's going to get cheered out the freaking building. You have her win the title. Oh, look at me. Have her go on a couple of weeks run. Have her go on a run till either on SmackDown, you can have her drop the belt back to Nia, or at the Rumble, you can have her drop the belt back to Nia. You don't have to have her have a long run with the belt, but it's the moment that I think would live in infamy. I think it's the moment that would live. And then not only that, you also have to remember, we got, like I said, we're 2 weeks away. Hold on, give me a second here. We're 2 weeks out from Survivor Series. So that's 2 weeks right there. 3 weeks to the end of November. We're 5 weeks away from Saturday Night Main Event happening right over here at the Nassau Coliseum. We're 10 weeks away from the debut of Raw on Netflix. So we got a lot of stuff coming up right now for the WWE. So it's going to be very interesting to see how it all plays out. It really is going to be very, very interesting to see how it all plays out. But let me get to some more comments here before we wrap things up here. Francis says, no, put Nia against someone else and have Chelsea cash in the Money in the Bank. Francis, Chelsea isn't the Money in the Bank winner. It's Tiffany. Tiffany is the Money in the Bank winner. And I'm only just saying, actually, I'm only saying that just so then Chelsea can get her moment. That's all I'm saying it for. And yeah, David, I agree on that. I did see the highlights of that one. That one was good. He says, my favorite Crown Jewel match and one of my favorite rivalries lately is Rollins and Reed. Yes, I totally agree. Francis, you're good. Don't worry about it, my friend. The only thing with this one is I think Bronson Reed should have won. I said this before with Nick Nemeth and Joe Hendry back at Bound for Glory. And I'll say the same thing now with this one. Why does somebody like Seth Rollins have to win here? Who's been at this for now almost 12 years, almost 13 years? The guy is Teflon. A loss here wouldn't have hurt him. A loss here would not have hurt him at all. But guys, we're about to wrap things up now because, guys, like I said, we had a lot to cover tonight. Guys, coming up next week on the show, we do have two rather controversial guests, if you want to call it that, because joining me next week. Yeah, no, David, I agree with you 100% on that, my friend. I definitely agree with you on that. Guys, coming up next week at 8:15 p.m. Eastern. I can't believe I'm about to pull this one off. I'm psychotic for doing this. I'm crazy for doing this. But if you're a fan of New Jersey independent wrestling, you know the rivalry right now with Sean Donovan and Alex Ryman. And they will actually be in the ring with each other November 24th at Pro Wrestling Magic. But before they get to the Pro Wrestling Magic stage, they're going to be on here with me. And I'm going to try my best to keep those two calm. But guys, I'm already forewarning you guys. Anything said on that show next week is not the Around the Ropes podcast does not have the same views as them. But guys, like I said, that's coming up next week. Alex Ryman, Sean Donovan, live on the show, weeks ahead of their unsanctioned Pro Wrestling Magic match at the Christmas show. And guys, you have any questions for either superstar, message me them or leave them in the comment section, and I will try to get to them as best as I can. But guys, that's coming up next week. Then the following week, I can't believe I'm about to say this. The following week is a party. The following week is not the one, not the two, but the 3-year anniversary of this channel. Not of this channel, sorry, of this show. 3 years. Yeah, Francis, it's a good way to put it. 3 years of this podcast. And guys, that party goes down in 2 weeks. There's going to be a boatload of people in here. I want to get as many people as I can on screen because I want this to be a celebration. Because I said this before and I'll say this again. While I'm the one who's doing the work, I'm not doing this by myself. There's a long list of people I'm going to be thanking. And I'm not thanking them right now because I want to give them each their moment, even people from the past. And guys, let me know in the comment section below. Of the I have to specify this very clearly. Of the non-wrestlers, other podcasters, other people you've seen on this show before, who would you guys want to see me bring back for this show? Let me know in the comment section below. I'll take some of them into consideration. There are some people who I will be asking, even if it's just for a few minutes, just to hop on. Because, guys, it's going to be a fun night. It's going to be a fun night in 2 weeks for the 3-year anniversary of this show. It's insane what the show has been through. It's insane, the ups and downs, the peaks, the valleys. But the show keeps going. There's nothing that's going to stop the show. The only thing that's going to stop the show is me. And as of now, I ain't stopping. I ain't stopping for nobody. We're taking the show to the top. But guys, again, that'll be in 2 weeks. And then obviously we got our Christmas show coming up in December, which more information about that will be coming out in the weeks to come. You know what? I'm going to see if I can do that. David. And then Francis, I'm not going to put the boss on the hot seat. He's sick right now. Maybe before the December 14th show, he'll be back on here to kind of preview that show, but I'm not putting him on the hot seat. But guys, I'm also going to say this much. Not only will I try to get Ryan to come back on for one night, not only will I try to get Costa, but I'm also going to try to get a few other people you guys have seen before on the show. I'm going to see if I can get Phil McManus to hop in here for a few minutes. I'm going to see if I can get Billy to hop in here for a few minutes. I'm going to see if I can get Chris M. Just people you've seen on the show for the last 3 years. So, guys, you're not going to want to miss it because who knows? I'm not even going to put out a thing of naming the guests. The only way you're going to find out who will be live on the show is you have to tune in. That's the only way you're going to know who's going to be on the show. But one person I do want to make this last part very brief. As many of you know, one of the reasons I did not do the show last week was because we were dealing with all the ramifications, all the chutzpah, the fallback from what happened in Philly at the, I'm not going to go into full detail. I do want to just make a mention, though, that Amanda is on the mends with the concussion, and she is doing a hell of a lot better. I mean, she's still a klutz in certain aspects, but, she's still a fighter, and she is a trooper. And she appreciates everybody's support who has sent their wishes. It means a lot. Because, guys, like I said, we're not just, this isn't just the ATR Nation. This is the ATR family. We're all one big, very dysfunctional family. That's the best way I can put it. But, guys, like I said, that's it for me for tonight. It was fun to be back. And, guys, next week, Alex Ryman, Sean Donovan. Guys, check us out, prowrestlingtees.com/Around the Ropes Podcast for all of your merch. And subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and all that fun, jazzy stuff that the kids do these days. And guys, again, appreciate all support. It means a lot. We'll catch you guys here next week. Sean Donovan, Alex Ryman, 8:15 p.m. See you guys then.